Scott Robertson and his team ahead of Saturday's first test against England. Elliot Smith reports from Dunedin.
The front row picks itself. The locks should sort themselves out, so too open side number 8. They've said Adi Savia is staying there. First 5, midfield and fullback 2. That leaves blindside, Ethan Blackadder and Samipeni Finau fighting it out there. The latter could be a dynamic bench option. TJ Perenara will likely start at halfback. Mark Talia should take one wing spot, and Sevu Reece or Emoni Narawa and possibly injury-hampered Caleb Clark fighting it out for the other berth. In Dunedin with the All Blacks, Elliot Smith.
Squad's named at 11:30. International rugby coverage with Access Solutions, elevating you and your business to a higher level. England have beaten the White Ferns by 5 wickets with 20 balls to spare, chasing 212 in the rain-reduced dead rubber third one-day cricket international at Bristol. The hosts have won the series 3-0. And striker Hannah Wilkinson's missed out on the Football Ferns Olympic squad amid coach Jitka Klimkova's continued absence. Stand-in gaffer Michael Main's 18-strong squad includes 10 first-time games call-ups. I'm Andrew Alderson, and that's Newstalk ZB News and Sport with the Shower Witch Tigers Paw combo, now just $99. It's 10:05.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
Hyperdrive's mobile attire fitting vans, fast, easy and convenient. Good morning. Now it's still heavy, but it is easing. Drury through to Papakura, then you're going to hit heavy traffic Ellerslie through to Green Lane. The northwestern moderate to heavy from St Luke's. The southwestern southbound a slow patch at Hillsborough. The northern citybound slow at Upper Harbour. Covering all of Auckland, Hyperdrive bringing the tyre shop to you. Ivanka Zonich for Time Saver Traffic.
Newstalk ZB Weather Watch 24/7 with Panasonic's new heat pump clothes dryer out now. With Manukau Harbour, southeast 10 knots, turning southerly 10 early afternoon. Waitemata, southeast 10 rising to 15. Hauraki Gulf, southeast 10 rising to 15 this morning. Breamhead to Cape Colville, southeast 10 rising to 15, but 20 about Colville Channel. High tide at Auckland, 6 o'clock this evening. And Onehunga at 9:30 tonight. A fine day today. There was some frost around this morning in sheltered places, and sour easterly winds will develop. Tomorrow will be fine with southerlies easing late at night. Today's high 13. Currently it's 8 degrees in Auckland City.
Christopher Luxon taking your calls on 0800 80 1080 on Kerre Woodham Mornings with Pinnacle Life. Get a life insurance quote in just 30 seconds. Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB, it is 10:07. Kerre Woodham and the Prime Minister Christopher Luxon with you through until... Well, Christopher Luxon will be with us till 11 and I will be with you through until midday. So lots to talk about. Did you know Doug and Trish Mackay?
Yeah, look, I know Doug really well, and he's a great man, and it's a great family, and it's just an absolutely tragic set of circumstances, and the family will be in huge shock, and I think all our thoughts and prayers are with them because they're just top people.
Yeah, that's what I'd heard too.
Yeah, really awesome.
Very, very sorry about that.
Yeah.
Now, you've got Chris Bishop about to make an announcement, which seems to have already been made in the Herald, and he's talked to Mike Hosking about the need for building more homes, and we have to. Yeah. I mean, that's just the root of many of our social ills, is the fact that there aren't enough homes for young people, aren't enough homes for social housing. But there's got to be, I mean, just look out there. Some of those apartment buildings are just appalling, and a lot of our arable land has been taken for developments. Yeah,
look, I mean, the way I look at it is, like, just zoom out and say you've got a country the same size as Japan, you've got the country the same size as the UK, right, in terms of land size. But we've got a lot less people, and yet we've got more expensive houses. And so the whole problem we've got in New Zealand is actually a supply side problem, right? We are just not, it's not a demand problem, it's actually a supply problem that we've got. Because we don't build enough new houses, you can't buy one at affordable prices, so you end up renting one. Then we haven't had enough rental properties, so you can't rent one, so you end up on a state house or a social house wait list. And then if you can't get a social house, you end up actually in emergency housing. That's kind of how those four things are all linked. Right. And the four components of housing actually have the same problem, which is a supply problem.
And we get the idea of building up, but they've got to be done with community spaces, and green spaces. Yep. So how do you force developers to do that, to build livable spaces? Yeah, well,
what Chris is saying is, look, we have to densify our cities, particularly around big transport hubs. If you take a city of the scale and size of Auckland and you look at it comparably to, say, Brisbane or even parts of Sydney, subparts of Sydney, what you've done is densify over transport hubs. And if you go out to, Chris and I recently actually opened a build-to-rent facility out of Sylvia Park, Residio. And honestly, go there. It's a fantastic development, right? Where actually people can get long-term rentals with fantastic amenities, great gardens, great spaces, great rooftops, gymnasiums, walking distance to Sylvia Park.
So why not ask them to build 10 around Auckland?
Well, that's what we want to do. But in fairness, what's happened is the reason we've ended up in this problem is that we've been running the country like it's 1975, and we haven't actually evolved our laws to enable developments like that to happen. We haven't encouraged investors to go off and invest in something like a build-to-rent program. Now, build-to-rent is just one thing that we can do around getting more rental properties into the market. The reasons we did the Bright Line test and the interest deductibility is to make sure we keep that private landlord market, open as well. And there's more that we've got to do. And what Chris is announcing today is actually thinking about how do we actually build more houses and make it more affordable for people to own. Now, there's a whole bunch of things in that space as well. Like our building products are really expensive in New Zealand. It costs us 50% more to build a house in this country than it does in Australia. And it turns out we can't access building products that are approved for use in America or the UK or Australia or Singapore or other countries that we would respect those jurisdictions. And as a result, our own building products are very expensive. So that's one little thing that you've got to do. You've got to work on as well. But what Chris is saying is, look, big cities, tier 1, tier 2 cities, should actually be very clear, like other countries do all around the world, to say we are rezoning land that actually will be parked for residential development over the next 30 years. Whereas in New Zealand, it's tended to be, I exaggerate a bit, but it's been a bit ad hoc because you have a farm that then gets rezoned. The price goes up 15% as it gets into residential subdivisions, and it happens in ad hoc places across the city, and it's not planned development as such. So yes, we've got to expand out on the city limits. We've got to protect the productive lands for sure and the growers.
How do you do both?
Well, we can. Our top 5% of land we can certainly protect very strongly. That's very productive growing lands, and I think we can do that as well as obviously expand the piece. But you've got to look at places like Panmure where we've got big potential transport hubs, and you say that's a good place to densify and put high rises into, as we've seen in parts of Sydney over the years as well.
We will go to, there's lots to cover. There's been much. You have been busy.
We've been busy. There's been a lot going on, I'll be honest with you.
Has grown under you.
No, we've got a lot to do to get the country sorted, though.
Yeah, well, you're making a start, and at least whether people agree with you or not, they can see what you're doing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be transparent about it. So I have these quarterly plans, and I'm being sort of foreshadowing in the next 13 weeks, the next 3 months, what is our government focused on to try and get things sorted. And so we can all see it.
I did love the way you put some things in there like I would, like some things I've already done, so you can cross them off, and it makes you feel better about your list.
That's how you do your to-do list.
Yeah. And it looked a bit like your Q3 was a bit like that. It's like take cabinet decisions, and it's like, well, yeah.
No, but they're actually quite important, because if you think about a government, you're trying to make sure inside you actually all agreed on the course of action. Mm-hmm. And in a coalition government, I think it's even more important that you're aligned, because if you don't get it sorted inside and agree and actually have had the robust discussions with officials and others and advice about, is this the right thing to be doing? That actually is quite important. So it's not meant to be frivolous at all, but
it's not frivolous.
It's just highlighting that, if you think about, we put a whole bunch of things in the first 100 days around tackling gangs. Well, over the last 6 months, that legislation ultimately goes through several readings, becomes a law, which will get passed in August, September. The police can start, operationalising in October, November.
So basically that's two things on your list you can cross off, which is really only one. But that's the way I do lists too, and that way it's less daunting. Actually, Craig has a question about gangs. Craig, good morning to you.
Good morning, Mr. Luxon. Thank you for your time.
G'day, Craig.
With the patch law that you're bringing in, to Chair, then I'll hang up and listen to your answer. Does the Bill of Rights have to be changed for you to implement this? And regardless of that, what's to stop future governments from banning insignia such, if they're an atheist government, such as the Sallies for wearing their uniform down the street?
Yeah.
I'll just let you answer. I'll hang up so I can hear you.
Well, thank you, Craig. Well, thank you for the question. And look, what we're doing here is we just want to crank the pressure up on gangs. Gangs have grown 51%. We've had a 30% growth in violent crime, and they've been big drivers of a lot of that. We want that gang life to be really unattractive for young people. And so we've taken the laws that we've seen in Western Australia, which have actually been implemented by a Labor Premier, very successful one, and have been very successful banning gang patches. We already do it in the public buildings like the hospitals and courtrooms and other government buildings, and we're expanding that out to public pressure because that's about intimidation. So in terms of Bill of Rights, there's always a Bill of Rights assessment about legislation that's passed, but it's ultimately up for a government to say, okay, even if there's what's called a BORA negative Section 7 report, it can still fire ahead and actually make that decision if it thinks it's in the interest of New Zealanders, and we do.
But what is a policeman in Portuguese going to do when there are 20 gang members gathered round having a stoush?
And that's a question I've been asked a lot, and police themselves have said, look, we will find the way to operationalise that. It may be that you actually take note of those individuals and you go follow up afterwards, and there'll be a whole bunch of things that they can do operationally to make sure that policy is enforced. But I just say to you, go look at Australia, and we've taken this idea out of Queensland, out of Western Australia. There's been a huge focus on gangs, and they're very big organised crime, bikie gangs over there. And this works, and why wouldn't we try it? Frankly, and because I'm over it. I mean, I'm sick of it. We're all sick of it, and we can keep banging on and talking about it, or we can try some stuff, and it works. It may not work, but who cares? We're going to do it.
We also have to accept that if there are young people who find gang life more acceptable than joining the community, there's something wrong with the community as well.
Yeah, and I think there's two parts to this, right? We're putting pressure on gangs to say, hey, listen, you want all the rights of being a Kiwi, but you're not prepared to take the responsibilities. You cause and peddle huge amounts of pain and suffering across the New Zealand population, across your fellow citizens, and that's not right. So we are going to ban the gang patches. We're giving police the powers to break gangs up from associating with each other, and we're also cracking down on the illegal guns through firearm prohibition orders with them, and we're making gang membership an aggravating factor in sentencing, right? So that's the suite of gang laws that will be passed in August, September, and now be the law of the land for the police to now operationalise. But that's what we have to do. We have to make that attractive. Now, on the other hand, we also have to do what we call social investment, and we have to work at the problems that are actually the root causes of a lot of our social challenges in New Zealand through something called social investment. And that's why you saw us in the last few weeks. It's technical, but we created what's called a central government agency called the Social Investment Agency, which is taking Bill English's thinking about those really hard, intractable social problems and trying to find really innovative solutions to them, and getting often community organisations develop that solution rather than government sitting in the bureaucracy in Wellington trying to dream it up.
Newstalk ZB Prime Minister Christopher Luxon is in studio. 10:16, back in a moment.
Finance your business vehicles with Driveline. Whether it's a car, van, truck, big rig or trailer, you won't drive a better deal. Visit driveline.co.nz.
Wardrobe Warehouse, we get you sorted.
You're renovating. Time to sort the bedrooms and get the sort of wardrobe that not only looks good but sorts out all your storage. Talk to the good sorts at Wardrobe Warehouse on Springs Road, East Tamaki. Wardrobe Warehouse. Life sorted.
Big winter sale now on at Curtain Studio. Get a massive 50% off making and lining on selected fully lined curtains, 50% off studio roller blinds and Venetians, plus up to 30% off selected studio ready-mades. Shop these great offers and more only at Curtain Studio. T's and C's apply.
G'day, Leanne here, Manuko Toyota Group. Let's talk about Toyota certified used cars. They're a pretty big deal, and we've got a pretty big deal going. All Toyota certified cars come with 4 years warranty, WAF, road service, plus the standard 5 years hybrid battery warranty. Our lineup includes Corolla, Yaris, Aqua and CHR. Manuko Toyota Group in Botany, Manuko, Papakura and Pukekohe. Come on in or look us up online. T's and C's, mileage limits and exclusions apply.
Let's find a way to cut your business costs. With Bank of New Zealand, you can get an EFTPOS or portable payment terminal rent-free for the first 18 months. And you could save even more with BNZ's low package service fee. Search BNZ Payment Solutions or visit the BNZ website to get your terminal rent-free for the first 18 months. Take payments effortlessly with Bank of New Zealand. Let's find a way. T's and C's and fees apply.
Are you feeling lucky? Then unlock the best bang for your buck with the wicked Waitomo app. Simply fill up $20 or more via the Waitomo app, unlock a spinning wheel for your chance to spin and win the best deal on your fuel. Waitomo, Kiwis fueling Kiwis with fairer fuel prices, and proudly the key to your journey for 77 years.
This land's a gift to you and to me.
Continuous Group make quality rainwater systems that stand up to New Zealand's changeable conditions. For over 30 years, we've perfected spouting fascia and downpipes that you can rely on whatever the weather. With spouting prices starting from just $28 per metre, plus a free gutter wand with any new spouting installed, it's a great time to protect your home from the elements. For the original continuous spouting installed nationwide, contact your local Continuous Group at continuous.co.nz.
The hard questions and the analysis. It's Heather Duplessis-Allen Drive.
The government has announced today that it's launching a review into the flooding in Wairoa last week. Dr Nick Peet is the Chief Executive of Hawke's Bay Regional Council. If this review finds, Nick, that you guys were to blame, what are you going to do?
Look, if we've made significant mistakes in the process, we'll absolutely take that on the chin.
Heather Duplessis-Allen Drive with One New Zealand. Back today at 4, only on Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB, Prime Minister Christopher Luxon taking your question. The ferries, the ferries, the ferries. Ben, you've got a question about the ferries.
Yeah, morning, Palmer. So I've got a question just regarding, did Winston Peters sign off on 2 ferries of the same size as we already have? And then following his demise in 2020, did Labor then increase the size of those ferries without getting the costings on the infrastructure upgrade?
Yeah, Ben, I can't answer as to what was done back in 2017. I just don't have that detail with me at the moment. But what I can say is, essentially, again, take a step back. What happened here was there was a $750 million investment planned for the ferry upgrades for 2 new ferries. And then what happened was the project then continued to blow out to $3.2 billion. And actually there was no end in sight actually as to where that was going.
Was that on the...
Yeah, so what happened was, because the ferries that were selected were quite unusual and special from what's available around the world and custom built for New Zealand, or custom built for this project, they, I think, were about 40 metres longer and 10 metres wider, and all of that then necessitated massive upgrades to port infrastructure in Picton and also in Wellington. So by the time we looked at the $3.2 billion, I think only 20% of it was actually the boats, and 80% was actually all the enabling infrastructure needed to support the boats.
Yep.
And then there were questions about, actually, there's been a cost blowout, but there's also questions as practically, are these actually the right boats? Are they just too big and the wrong kind of boat for the actual task at hand? And so what we've said is, look, we just can't carry on just drip feeding money in and making it a $3.2 billion to a $5 billion program when we've got a whole bunch of challenges in New Zealand. So what we've done is we've got money set aside. Now that's all good. We put a ministerial advisory group of 3 people in to do a quick assessment of what we actually need for the ferries. And then there'll obviously be a process. We'll come out very shortly and talk about what we will do in that regard. We need a solution, but it will be a different solution, and obviously got to be, in a realm of cost that's not, is more digestible for the country and for the economy at this point. We'll get the right ships on the right piece of water, and we'll make sure that we get it set up right. But you can't have a cost blowout with no end in sight, and then actually getting serious questions whether these are practically the right sort of boats to have on the water anyway.
Just looking at the refresh of the Kiwi Rail Board and Kainga and so forth, do you believe that there have been board members who've been elected for their ideology as opposed to their skills?
Well, I won't go into that because that's for previous governments to determine. But what I'm interested in is, have I got a board and a chair that actually can deliver outcomes for New Zealanders? And so in the Kiwi Rail, it's fair to say, we lost a lot of confidence actually that this project was well managed and other things. And so the chair has retired, and we are refreshing the board. On health, on Kainga Ora, we had concerns about that organisation, as we've talked about, and so we have replaced the chairman, refreshed the board there, and we want a turnaround plan by the end of the year.
Why did he get the payout?
Well, that will be an employment contract between the CEO and the board. What I do as government is, my responsibility is to appoint the board, who are what are called the governors of that organisation. The management is then selected by those governors.
So if he was smart enough, and if I was smart enough to say, if there was a change of boss at Newstalk ZB and they didn't like the cut of my jib, I should negotiate that even though he wants me gone, I want to be paid out my contract.
I'm sure you have a great contract, Kerry. and they should pay you more anyway.
Not as good as Andrew
You're really
Mackenzie's.
good. Yeah, you should really hit them up hard for that. But no, I mean, the deal is there will be different details of employment contracts that individuals have with their boards. But if you're sitting in my position, KO's a $45 billion enterprise. I think there's something like 75,000 people or families involved there. We know it's been you've got financial management challenges, you've got asset management challenges, and very poor consultation with communities and other things. And we want to step change the performance there, because we know we need to build, as we talked about before, more social houses. But actually, I want to know that every dollar I put into an organisation is going to be well run and well managed. I'm not wanting to put good money after bad strategy or bad management.
Newstalk ZB 1024.
Hear that? That's the sound of the Sands by Oceania, the North Shore's only beachfront village that offers aged care. Whether you're looking for rest home or hospital level care, our modern care suites have all the comforts of home, designed to adapt as needs evolve, while our dedicated team go above and beyond to make care truly personal. To learn more about life at the Sands, call Joe on 0800 333 688. Oceania, believe in better.
It might not be making quite so many headlines these days, but unfortunately, COVID is still here. If you're 65 or over, taking care of yourself is just as important as ever. The good news is, keeping up to date with the COVID vaccine can help protect you from serious illness. It's free and recommended for you and many others as long as you haven't had the vaccine or COVID in the last 6 months. To book your vaccination, go to bookmyvaccine.nz or talk to your healthcare provider.
Subway's new fiery subs range is here, and it's hotter than you think. There's fiery harissa steak, spicy chicken classic, and chipotle meatball and pepperoni. Get it while they're hot, medium, and mild. Order now on the Subway app.
Don't miss out on this month's best buys at Chemist Warehouse, like Sanderson's Real Sleep FX 60 tablets, $14.49, or OptiSlim VLCD Platinum Plus chocolate and vanilla 18 sachet, $48.99. Chemist Warehouse, great savings every day.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Seasonal ills and chills are still lurking. Stock up now on lipospheric vitamin C. People who know will tell you Lipo with the Y is the one to buy.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Buy lipospheric vitamin C at Bargain Chemist and online at Health Post. Read the label, take as directed. John Appleton, Auckland.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Doc! I need advice about my advertising.
When don't you?
But I mean, should I even?
Should you even what?
Advertise. I'm cutting costs.
Well, this WebWonks ad should be the answer. History shows that businesses who invest in advertising during a downturn come out on top when the market turns.
True.
You don't need to spend a lot. You just need to talk to your target.
Who's your target? You! Touché. WebWonks, you crazy doctors for my Google data.
Webwonks.com.
Streaming live on iHeartRadio. Kerre Woodham Mornings. Engaging conversation on Newstalk ZB.
Newstalk ZB 1027. Are you in yet? Yeah, we had problems. Chris Hipkins had trouble too, but no, these seem to be much better. Johan, good morning to you.
Hi, Kerre. Hi, Mr. Luxon. How are you guys?
Good, Johan. How are you going?
I'm very good, thanks. My wife, she's a first-year nurse now in practice, and you guys campaigns on paying nurses student loans up to $4,500 a year. So, she was studying, with 2 kids on one salary, and with all the other nurses speaking with her, they're saying, when is this going to come in place? Because a lot of them are leaving to Australia. So I was going to ask, are you guys going to put that in place?
Yeah, good question, Johan. I mean, the first thing is your wife's incredible because our nurses are amazing. And what's been actually really encouraging is that we, over the last 6 months, have recruited several, I think we've got a couple of thousand, 1,500 to 2,000 more nurses actually in the system, which is actually really good. I know it's still imperfect. I know our healthcare system's complex and there's still lots more for us to do. But we've made good progress on the recruitment. With respect to what we were proposing, which was the bonding program, which was to say, if you go and prepared to study as a nurse, actually we would reimburse your fees over that if you stayed in the system for 5 years or more. That's something that Shane Retty's still working through. So we'll have more to say about that hopefully in the next wee while. But we know we've got to home grow as many nurses, doctors as we possibly can. We've still got our immigration settings really open for international nurses and doctors. We are making progress on the numbers and the recruitment just in the last 6 months. More to do. Obviously, it's not even up and down the system in terms of the different hospitals and different situations people are in. But yeah, there's more work for us to do in that space. Shane will have more to say about that shortly.
So what kind of time frame? Because Pharmac happened very quickly.
Yeah, Pharmac was a big one because we had to work through a different process as to what was the better way to deliver that commitment that we made. And I know it's on his work plan. I just can't give you a precise time frame on that at this point.
Not 6 months, not 3 years.
Oh, well, we want to do it, obviously. In this term, clearly.
Okay.
But it's just that what we're trying to do is just march through quarter by quarter to make sure we're doing the must-do critical stuff. And, he's done a lot of great work, for example, on getting $16.7 billion into the healthcare system in the last budget. We had to find the $2 billion almost in Pharmac core funding, and then we wanted to get the $600 million with the 54 cancer medicines away. So it's not to say Johan's right. We'll come back. We are looking at that. It's just that we're practically just trying to manage what we're trying to land and get it done well and delivered well, so that when we do get to that, we've got that really gripped up and well delivered.
We talked about this in the election campaign last year. Rebecca says, is it possible to get long-term bipartisan agreement on infrastructure, health, education strategies and outputs to avoid stop-starts and budget blowouts and changes? You talked about that a lot.
Yeah, I'd love to, and I really would love to try to do exactly that. And I think with our 3-year cycle, the problem is things get turned off, turned on, turned off, turned off, and nothing happens, right? And people get very frustrated about that, and I'm frustrated about that too.
You were talking about a 50-year time plane.
Yeah, so what I want is a 30-year infrastructure pipeline, and then I want 10 years for regional city deals, so that we know what's happening in a region.
And what needs to happen.
And then it locks up, and then it actually doesn't matter whether I lose my job or a mayor loses their job, that program carries on.
Right.
And then we have what's called a National Infrastructure Agency that actually is coordinating that and also getting the money from the government.
Happening?
Well, that is going to happen. So that is what we're working on.
And so you've got Labour on side.
Well, we're working on, first of all, getting the 30-year pipeline delivered and locked up, so that it's not just post-it notes of ideas. We've actually got a lot of detail around when we want to do that
surely
infrastructure.
If you're doing a bipartisan infrastructure plan, you would have to have the other parties in with you at the start. Otherwise, you're just handing them a fait accompli and saying, sign that.
Well, the first thing is actually to, just before we can even start, what you want to do is go to that conversation, saying, hey, listen, here's our innovation pipeline. I'd want other parties to react to that as the set of projects that they think that is the right set as well. But you've actually got to have a straw man and a starter for 10. And at the moment, what we've got, as you've seen, Auckland Light Rail, been a project for a long time. We still don't have a route. 6 years going, $250 million.
It just makes me want to cry thinking about
we do it really badly, right? And so the first thing I'm trying to do is, as the government, I want to take control and say, right, 30-year pipeline, not post-it notes with ideas, but proper projects defined. 10-year city regional deals as to what sort of is the core infrastructure in the regions, and then what's a national infrastructure agency that actually works out how we finance and fund that stuff. And it doesn't sound, it's actually really important stuff, because if you think about key bits of roads that have been promised and they're not delivered, and then promised, they're not delivered, as successive governments have had a different view about all of that, the more that we can get that aligned is important. Simon Watts has done a good job on the environment, because we know as we think about climate adaptation, we're going to need infrastructure that's much more resilient. And he started that process with the parties, knowing that there'll be different governments of different colours over the next 30 to 50 years. It's going to be different generations. There's lots of people involved in it. So he's trying to do that in a very bipartisan way from the beginning. But I get the frustration. I also think that's why a 4-year term would be a good thing too.
Newstalk ZB, it is 27 to 11.
Newstalk ZB Auckland. Time saver traffic.
And to win free fuel for a year at BP. Good morning. Now the southern motorway still slow just after Drury through to Papakura. Then you're going to hit moderate traffic Ellerslie through to Market Road. The northwestern is eased quite nicely, flowing quite well. So is the southwestern too. The northern city bound slow at Upper Harbour. Scan everyday rewards at BP and be in to win free fuel for a year. Thank Zonich for time saver traffic.
At House Me, we know the best way to shop for a tiny home is to try one on. Ooh, that does look good on you. So slimming. So come and size up a House Me show home in Whangarei, Auckland, Tauranga, Hastings, New Plymouth or Palmerston North. With tiny homes from 1 bedroom to 3, there's sure to be one in your size. Find a House Me show home and opening times at houseme.co.nz. House Me, the biggest name in tiny homes.
Are your savings pulling their weight? Squirrel's term investments return up to 7.75% per annum. And while past performance can't guarantee the future, our investors have never lost a cent. Sign up in under 5 minutes. Squirrel.co.nz/invest. T's and C's apply.
Ray Morningside here, devilishly handsome ex-weather presenter. I'm on a crusade to stop weather waffle. For too long, New Zealand, we've been subject to tirades of temperature twaddle and meteorological mumbo-jumbo. I don't want to hear the phrase winter's coming unless you're talking about Game of Thrones. And the next time someone says, how about that heat? Shout, stop the weather waffle. Join the crusade, New Zealand. Install Panasonic air conditioning, take control of your comfort, and end the weather waffle at panasonicAircon.co.nz.
None of us like winter power bills, but here's the money saver homeowners can subscribe to. Solar power installed for $0 up front. Subscribe to solar and get lower energy costs from Solar Zero for the next 25 years. No upfront costs. See solarzero.co.nz.
Do you know why so many of your neighbours are installing a shower dome shower top? Just watch the demo video at showerdome.co.nz. You'll see how a shower dome stops steam misting up your mirrors, stops mould and mildew, and saves energy. No extractor fans required. The best thing you can do for your home is install a shower dome. Available now at your nearest Mitre 10 store.
Showerdome.co.nz.
Newstalk ZB headlines.
With Blue Bubble taxis, it's no trouble with a blue bubble. The family of New Zealander Patricia Mackay, killed during a robbery in California, say they're trying to come to terms with the loss of their mother, wife and friend. Northland police are investigating the unexplained historic death of a 4-year-old in Kaikoai in 2015. Kainga Ora will still build thousands of houses in the next year, despite a change of leadership after the housing ministers replaced 5 board members and set expectations demanding more financial sustainability. Community Housing Aotearoa says housing is a 3 to 5 year game and we lack real long-term planning to match population growth. Labour's leader has told MPs at their midwinter caucus they have a big job ahead to win back Auckland and return to government at the next election. Census data delay means Waimakariri District Council can't complete a review and it'll have to wait another 3 years to be considered for its own ward. A happy ending to uncertainty over the future of Kaikoura's Pekita campground, with Ngāi Tahu confirming the beloved holiday spot will open for another summer. Wellington Zoo attracts record visitors, so why is it losing money? Read more at NZ Herald Premium. Back to Kerre Woodham.
Jodie, thanks so much. It's 23 minutes to 11. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon in studio. Cheryl, good morning to you. You have a question.
Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Mr. Luxon.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, well, thank you. I'm interested to understand how it works when an MP from another coalition partner prepares a bill that pretty much rides roughshod over what the National Party promised in your manifesto. I'm talking about youth vaping here, which is what's happening. So my specific question is, if there was appetite within your National Party caucus, would you consider using the agree to disagree clause on a bill to go back to the drawing board and deliver on a commitment you've made?
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that I tried to do it was have these coalition agreements between the National Party and ACT and National Party and New Zealand First. And then I made National New Zealand First and ACT actually sign off on each other's agreements with me and the National Party as a result as well. And that's given us a lot of stability and security. Otherwise, you get a lot of instability in that coalition agreement. But where we have things outside of the coalition agreement, then what we have is an ability to have agree to disagree clauses in our agreements as well. And we've actually, I think, used 2 of them actually already in the first 7 months. And they're things where the parties have different points of view and we come to a very sensible, it's a very mature, reasonable conversation to say, look, you know, that doesn't work for us and here's the reason for why. And it's all pretty calm and sorted with those clauses. And we also have these separate meetings where we have points of tension that we have clearing, what we call the clearinghouse meeting in my office once a sitting. On vaping, I just say to you, in March we announced we want a complete ban on disposable vapes. The second thing is that we've had a significant increase in fines for sales to under 18s, and we're putting more restrictions on retailers. So I am actually quite concerned about underage vaping in particular, and I think Casey Costello and the work that she's doing in that space, and she's got more work planned towards the end of the year in that area as well. I think is all good stuff.
Right across it. Yeah, we're right across it. We actually far preferred what you had in your manifesto. So I'm just really curious to know whether there's any pathway to achieving that, maybe a conscience vote when the bill comes forward if it's...
Yeah, the other thing I'd just say, look, is if you think there are things that we should be considering, and we do try and run these select committee processes as laws get changed, that's a great chance to sort of put those thoughts in. We genuinely do take in those public submissions and stakeholder submissions really seriously, because actually that's why we go through a process where you have a first reading of a bill, then you go to a select committee where you get public submissions and feedback, then you go back and rewrite the law a bit and improve it to get a second reading. And then it obviously goes through to a third reading and becomes a law. So I just encourage you, if you think there's things that are missing, tell us, and we'll be very open to that. But I do agree with you, underage vaping, big problem. When I talk to principals, parents, and I just think some of the measures that we've got going actually are going to be helpful.
Banning the phone seems to have worked.
Banning phones was a classic, right? I mean, that was an interesting one where officials said we need to consult on that, and he said, well, no, actually we need to do that.
And even principals that were a bit anti are now...
Yeah, principals are loving it. The cyberbullying's down, the kids are playing in the playground, and actually the kids that I run into now, I always ask them, how's it going without the phones in schools? And they say it's actually working well,
I have a question from an emailer. The Public Service Commissioner left at the end of February to date has not been replaced. If you look at the leadership of the public service, you see exactly the same faces that were there under Labor. Performance of some departments has been shocking, to say the least. Does the public service need a culture change to raise the expectation of those working there? How is that possible with the same people in charge, the yes ministers?
Well, I'd say yes, it does need a culture change, and that's what we are bringing to Wellington for sure. That's why I've put targets in place. That's why I hold the minister and the CEO jointly accountable for delivering on those targets, and they come back to a committee that I actually chair on their progress on those things. That's why we've got the quarterly action plans to focus the public service. But I just also say I think government and ministers have a big role to play. If you're a minister of a portfolio and you don't have clarity about what you're there to deliver in the next 3 years and focus on those ends and those outcomes, how on earth is the public service CEO supposed to just react to the waffle or the lack of clarity they're getting from our ministers? And that's how I felt about the previous government, that the ministers weren't directing and clear about what they wanted. So, if I look at someone like Chris Bishop, who's responsible for state housing, he's very clear that KO has been underperforming. We want change there. We've done a quick review with Sir Bill English. We've made changes and we know what we want to do. If I look at Louise Upston in the social development space, we want people off welfare and into work. So she's working really hard on obligations, making sure that people are got checks to make sure that they've got to reapply for their unemployment. They actually are doing their job, which is to look for a job. So if you don't have ministers with clarity, then in fairness, the public service ends up implementing a whole bunch of stuff that actually, in the absence of clarity or direction, do the wrong stuff. But having said that, we're very clear with the public servants. You've seen us move on organisations, whether it's Health New Zealand's getting a refreshed board, KO's getting a refreshed board. You've seen us, with Kiwi Rail, other entities and Crown entities and government agencies. We continue to do that. The Public Service Commissioner role is very important to get it right, because that is the role that I want to see driving a lot of that cultural shift and change, and I want the right leader in there to do exactly that.
Newstalk ZB, it is 17 to 11.
Hi, I'm Mike from Wairamataa Back Care Beds. Give yourself a lift this winter. Snuggle up in a cosy King Coil Hawaii pocket spring mattress combined with a Virtue adjustable bed base. The magic price for the superb adjustable bed package at a queen size with 3 choices of comfort feel is only $2,395. Magic price is also available in all sizes. Check us out today at Wairau Park, Northwest, Silverdale, Henderson or Mount Wellington.
Wairamataa Back Care Beds and Beds. What's your favourite sub of the day at Subway? Monday, meatball melt day. Tuesday, leg ham day. Wednesday, pizza melt day. Every day is a different delicious Subway 6-inch sub for just $6.90 at Subway. At participating restaurants, excludes delivery. See in-restaurant for details.
G'day, Di Henwood here. The Alternative Commentary Collective are covering every single One New Zealand Warriors game this season live on Sky Sport 9.
Tamari Martin!
Shall I go wide? No, head to the left. Boom time, boom time. Join myself and the ACC's Mad Monday team for coverage of the One New Zealand Warriors versus the Bulldogs this Saturday from 5 p.m. Live and exclusive on Sky Sport 9. Once you tune in, you'll never go back.
Brought to you by 420 Pies.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Seasonal ills and chills are still lurking. Stock up now on liposporic vitamin C. People who know will tell you Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
Buy lipospheric vitamin C at Unichem and Life Pharmacies and at Chemist Warehouse. Read the label, take as directed. John Appleton, Auckland.
Lipo with a Y is the one to buy.
G'day, I see you've just bought some of our competitors' tyres. Is that what you pay for them?
Well, yeah.
Well, I think we can do better than that. At Hyperdrive, we have the biggest range with over 30 brands, plus 250 fitting locations and mobile tyre fitting. At Hyperdrive, we'll beat any competitor's price by 10%. Whatever you pay, we'll do better than that. Hey, who's this guy?
He's my new boyfriend.
I think we can do better than that.
The largest range of tyres online.
Hi, Mike from Waitemata back here beds again. Just to make it better for you, if you have a Super Gold card, bring it in for an extra 10% off these remarkable package prices. Who else does that? 5 shops Auckland-wide. Call in to Waitemata today.
Talk back with Christopher Luxon on Kerre Woodham Mornings with pinnaclelife.co.nz. Easy online life insurance. Call 0800 80 1080. Newstalk ZB.
One and all do. Newstalk ZB, the boot camps. If you're going to introduce something that hasn't worked in the past, but you say is different and will work, but there is some, pushback against the boot camps, you've got to be clear in your communication, and I don't really think there's been clarity around it.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'd just say I've sat in on the sessions as that program's been designed. It's led by Oranga Tamariki. We've had inputs from Defence. No, Oranga Tamariki under the Mike Bush review and under Karen Chua's leadership and the management changes that she's made and the staff that have been actually taken out of the organisation.
Terrible job they have, but...
A terrible job, but we've got a massive responsibility to manage our most vulnerable kids that are often heading in the wrong direction. And so I'm really pleased because I get it. We've tried it in the past and there were things that didn't work, particularly actually the reintegration into community. That's been a big problem, but that's why we've got police inputs, defence inputs, community organisations are there from day one, working with these young people on their issues, working with their siblings, with their families. We're taking them off the streets and out of the community so the community's safe, but we're actually going to use opportunities like that to try and turn those kids' lives around. Where does the message
get muddled with the Defence Force, with Mark Mitchell, with you? Because that just takes time away from really important stuff that you're doing.
Well, I mean, I'm sure... we know what we're doing. We're really clear on the inside. Maybe we've got to communicate it better. I get that. I mean, we won't get everything right, to be brutally honest with you on that. But I tell you, we are doing it. A lot of what you're getting is pushback from pundits, media, commentators that won't like it. But I don't care, because actually what I care about is those young people. What I care about is those victims. And what I care about is actually getting crime down in this country. And damn it, we're going to try something different.
And you do have to, as you've looked at with the gangs, you have to work with the social investment to stop them going into the gangs, as well as the gang problem. So are you going to continue with programs like Kotahi Te Whakaaro that was started under Labour that does seem to have worked?
Programs that do work will continue to put money towards, as long as they're getting hard outcomes. And so a good example, and I want to do a lot more of that, and that's what we mean by social investment. And actually I'll have more announcements around mental health later on today, just so that's in that same vein. The reason we gave $24 million to I Am Hope Gumboot Friday was because, Mike, in that organisation, for every dollar you give them, there's about $5.70, I think, of social benefit that's actually created, of money that's not being spent in the criminal justice system, in the healthcare system, in the education system with those young people. So we have to get the money out of Wellington and the bureaucracy. We have to power up good communication, community organisations that are often doing great work in a pocket, but you actually want to hit the photocopier button and have them do it across the whole country, right? So that's a good example where we're putting money into an organisation like that, and we want to do a lot more of that. But the quid pro quo is pretty simple. You have to get a result. It's not just big-hearted people with good intentions doing some stuff.
Saying our boys feel more mana as a result.
Yeah, you've actually got to make sure that is leading to hard-headed, improved outcomes.
If you have time, could you ask them, we're running out, gosh, this hour goes quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you have time, could you ask the PM about apprenticeships? We have 2 boys looking for apprenticeships. The country needs more qualified trade workers. However, companies aren't hiring because construction is down the plug hole. My words. Now is the time to be training, so when the economy picks up, we have skilled workers.
Fully agree, and actually that was the one program and policy out of the previous government that I respected, which was actually the Apprenticeship Boost program, which we've kept, and we will continue to invest in that. Penny Simmons is doing a big reset of sort of vocational training to make sure we get that right. But I agree with you, but it is challenging for construction at the moment because the economy, with all that spending, drove inflation up, drove interest rates up, slowed the economy down and has led to rising unemployment. That's why we're working so hard. The number one thing I have to do is get inflation down so I can get interest rates down, get the economy growing again, keep people in work.
How much inflation can you control when you've got Ukraine, when you've got those 2 pathetic old men who are battling it out for the presidency of the US?
Inflation breaks into 2 bits. The international bit, which is actually down, I think, just below 2%. So that's not our problem at the moment. Our problem has been the domestic part, and that has been driven by, as I said, lots of government spending last time fueling that inflation. So if we can get that down to 3%, I know it's hard, but it is hard for New Zealanders right now.
It's really hard.
It's really hard, paycheck to paycheck, week to week. And I'm very conscious of that. We're very
Even people who never would have considered themselves having to compare cheeses or butter at the supermarket are doing so.
I've met with families in food banks, for example, up and down the country who never thought they'd ever be there, that are there as lower middle income working families.
And the social contract is that if I work hard and pay my taxes and do well, I should get ahead. Yeah.
But we're dealing with the hangover of economic mismanagement, and I know New Zealanders don't always appreciate it, but good management and good economic management matters a lot, because when you don't get it gripped up, you end up causing the pain and suffering that we're all experiencing. So we're having to go through. The good news is, you look at something like food prices, that's only gone up about 0.2% the last 12 months. Inflation's down at 4%. That's the lowest I think it's been, or certainly food down for about 5 years, down from 7%. And so we've actually now got to push on, get it below 3%. And then when we do that, interest rates can come down, then the economy starts to grow because businesses can invest in construction, in development, all of those good things.
I think a lot of tired New Zealanders want to know, are we there yet?
I know, but we've had 7 months. We're trying to undo 6 years of bad economic management. And New Zealand, these are the lessons that we've learnt in the past. If you don't control government spending, you lose control of inflation. When you lose control of inflation, interest rates go up. When interest rates go up, the economy slowed down, and why unemployment goes up. So it's that simple, and that's why I've got to deal with the root cause of the problem. And that's what Nicola and I are spending most of our days trying to get moving in the right direction.
It seems you're also delegating quite well. You've got a good suite of ministers who seem to be in charge.
We've got a great, big job of my job as Prime Minister is to make sure I get the right people on the right assignment with a really clear brief and a set of expectations that I have of them. And I think when I look across all of my portfolios, I'm really proud of our ministers. I know they're working really hard. We're in a turnaround mode, and so we are moving at pace, and we are deliberately making decisions. And I know some of them are tough, and they're doing it fast. But it's more important that we get a hard yes or a hard no to people rather than mush and non-decision.
Newstalk ZB, it is 9. No, it's not. It's 8 minutes to 11.
When it's time to relax, it's time for Stressless, the world's most comfortable collection of luxury recliners at Danske Møbler Furniture. Discover how your whole body completely relaxes as the chair gently responds to the slightest movement of your body. The neck and lumbar support are outstanding, and the luxuriously soft leather oozes cozy comfort and warmth. Try one. It feels like you're floating on air. Stressless, Norwegian quality recliners exclusively available at Danske Møbler Furniture.
Today, up and down the country, trusted mechanics at Auto Super Shops are working on a Hilux in Henderson, a Triton in Twizel, and a Ranger in Riccarton. Whether using your wagon for trekking through the mud, running the kids to rugby, or just picking up the groceries, make sure you take your pride and joy to a premium mechanic who knows utes. No matter where you are in the country or the city, there's an Auto Super Shop near you.
It's the place to stop, your Auto Super Shops.
We're New Zealand's mechanic.
Wendywu Tours Everything Must Go sale on now. From a majestic cruise down the Yangtze in China to Christmas in Vietnam or the incredible autumn leaves in Japan, the world is brimming with wonders waiting to be explored. Choose from over 100 fully inclusive itineraries across the world, with every available departure in 2024 on sale. Save up to $1,000 per person. Everything Must Go sale on at wendywutours.co.nz or see your local travel professional. T's and C's apply.
Feel your best self in a service department at Ryman's Keith Park Village in Hobsonville. Service departments come with support that makes life easier, like housekeeping and a chef-prepared meal each day. Spend more time doing the things you love while Ryman take care of the rest. Plans are available to view now. To find out more, call Carolyn or Rosalind on 09 416 0750 or search Keith Park Village.
Be your own kind of beautiful with Farmers and look good, feel better. Buying a participating product from Farmers this month will not only help you feel good, but your purchase will also be supporting Look Good, Feel Better, the charity helping and connecting those in the community undergoing cancer treatment. The caring team provide free Feel Better community classes for any person facing any cancer at any time in their treatment. Support Look Good, Feel Better this month at Farmers.
Newstalk ZB, well, that's it, really. And you're off soon, aren't you?
Yeah.
NATO's birthday.
I've got Timaru tomorrow, Wairoa on Saturday, back to Auckland on Sunday, a lot of reading, and then off on Monday evening to the States. And really, I've got speed dating with a bunch of US politicians across the aisle on Tuesday.
What are you doing in San Fran?
Wednesday I've got actually European leaders, they're all in town for NATO. We have a NATO IP4 meeting, which is what I'm there for. On the Thursday, and then on Friday I'm in San Francisco meeting with investors, actually trying to
who want to invest here
in New Zealand. That's what I'm trying to do. So everywhere I go around the world I meet with investors, because one of the things we need in light of some of the conversations we've had today is investment, and we're actually the worst in the developed country at attracting overseas capital to come into New Zealand,
but not just to build golf courses, but
to partner. Like I want to build roads, for example, so we could wait 30 years to get State Highway 29 done, or we could actually do that in a joint venture with private capital from pension funds and superannuation funds from in New Zealand and from around the world, and actually get that built much quicker. Yes, you might have to pay a toll for it, but New Zealanders say to me, I quite like my new roads that have been built, and I pay a nominal toll if it means it much quicker. So
absolutely,
so it'd be an interesting, so the States is good time to build that relationship and to work with others.
Do you have a preference between the two doddery old men, the narcissist or the bumbling idiot?
I will work with whoever the American people deliver as president, because my job is to advance New Zealand's interests, and I'll make those relationships work, whichever they are.
Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak?
Again, I make it work. That's my job, Kerry.
Marine Le Pen?
I'll make it work.
Okay, so we're going to leave with Teddy Swims the door.
Yeah, he's coming to town this weekend.
He is. Are you going on Saturday night?
No, because I think I'm coming. I'm in Wairoa, so and a bit on, but he's awesome.
As always, lovely to have you in studio. Thank you for taking the time.
Great to be with you.
They always enjoy asking the questions. So refreshing listening to Mr. Luxon. Mind you, this is an easy audience, probably. Do you go to the hard audiences, like, I
can try to go everywhere.
You do try to go everywhere, that's true.
They don't always like me, but I've got to go everywhere to make sure I get the message out. Yep.
Well, very nice to have you. Safe travels. You're not hopefully travelling on that clunker.
No, we won't push the limits to make it go that far this time. Yep.
Can we get a new plane?
We're going to work on it. I tell you, we're going to get one. Yep.
Nice.
Here's the Elizabeth Knox Home and Hospital CEO, Jill Woodward. You have exciting news of a major new home.
Yes, Knox is opening the fabulous new 65-bed Totara home with a range of premium options. Residents can choose from single rooms with interconnecting doors for couples and siblings, suites with kitchenettes, and one-bedroom apartments. All enjoy large community living spaces. Knox resident care and satisfaction is assured from our committed team of doctors, nurses, care partners, physios, OTs and lifestyle and leisure. Join us at Knox, where life is less lonely, more active, and you'll enjoy higher levels of well-being.
Knox.co.nz.
here for each other.
Winter has arrived, and with it comes the Design Concepts Winter Sale. On now while stocks last. They're still stocked up on outdoor furniture with on-trend designer pieces, high-quality finishes, and affordable pricing. Design Concepts are sure to have something to complement your outdoor space. From outdoor tables and chairs to luxurious